She was a spinning.
So we have close to a dozen program managers here. It's a really critical role for us in healthcare, and I think that what makes the best program managers is a few things. One, having really good organizational skills and being able to multitask and being able to have lots of balls in the air, because even with one project, there are usually multiple mini projects that are going on to make that program come together. And so you have to be highly, highly organized.
Some of the most difficult conversations I have are actually the ones with some of my best staff. Which isn't necessarily what you'd think, because when you have staff who are not making their goals and objectives, or who are not doing what's expected of them, then there's a very clear process, and you can sit down and say, this is what needs to happen, this is what you are doing, this is what we need to have change, and here's, let's put together a plan for fixing that, and whatever. And in some ways, even though those are difficult, because there's a very clear path, they're easier. What I find much harder is when, and it doesn't happen all the time by any means, but when I have staff who are very high performing and who are very successful, the hardest conversations are then pointing out where they might need to tweak, or how I need them to change a certain aspect of what they're doing. And that's a bit more difficult, because it isn't as if they're doing something wrong. There isn't necessarily a clear path forward, but in some instances, I'm going to someone who's been very successful with their program and saying, and that's great, but I'm getting feedback that this particular constituency is frustrated by how you manage X, Y, and Z.
And then I'd like to read any other kind of background material that may inform that process. So if there's a strategic plan, if the project is specifically related to a strategic plan, or some other goal. Because again, it makes sense to, if you're working on the project, to make sure that you know where the touch points are, and then it makes it stronger as a manager that you're reporting back. And a lot of people, as they're working, forget that, oh yeah, we did this strategic plan a couple years ago, and it does connect to that priority, or that, and so that's what I really try to do, is connect the dots is a big piece.
Now, having worked for 15, 16 years in this field, I think the first thing I do with a new project is I map it out. I lay it out, I do timelines, I do really detailed work plans. If I'm fortunate enough to have staff that can work on the project, we sort of divide and conquer. I think public health is a team sport. It's very collaborative. Nobody can do it alone on an island. It's so interconnected and so diverse that having partners not only makes the work easier, but more manageable. And so you get really accustomed to, when you write the grant, all the funders require, you have detailed timelines and Gantt charts. I'm sure you're familiar with those, just so that you can visually depict, what parts and pieces you're working on. Some are simultaneous, some ramp up while others are ramping down.